Hello, everyone. As you can probably guess, it's time for another reading. This one, She Follows Me, Part 2, written by me, narrated by me, in the forum r/nosleep. So, shall we begin? Hello, everyone. Thankfully, I was able to post this a lot sooner than I thought I would. Unfortunately, things are getting increasingly worse for me. I will do my absolute best to post as regularly as I can. I want to catch you all up on my story as quickly as possible, so please bear with me a little longer. Just so I can manage to provide you with my story easily, I'm going to try grouping each event into its own individual parts. Hopefully, this will make it easier for everyone to follow along with me and also help me when I'm putting it to paper. So, let's continue then, shall we? Part 1, The Cherry Farm. Cherry Farm, also known as Hawkesbury, is a very old mental institute located in the South Island that has been open for roughly 70 years. It was opened after the original mental hospital, Seacliff, closed. While it sits on a large amount of land, the land is mainly dedicated to farming and set up so it can remain somewhat self-sufficient. The farm is also used as a form of rehabilitation, where they get the more sound of mind patients to work 10 to 12-hour days, tending to the crops and livestock. The main hospital building is only 3 stories high. The top 2 floors contain most of the hospital rooms, with the top floor mainly being reserved for those considered to be suffering from more severe mental illnesses. This is where I was held. They put me into a small room with yellow-stained walls. The stains were what I assumed to be from years of both patients and doctors smoking indoors. And as the windows didn't open, the smoke had nothing else to do but stain the room. The ceiling was also stained, covered in the remnants of cigarettes and what appeared to be brown stains from where water leaks had been left to their own conclusion. The room stank of a combination of stale smoke, flatulence, and body odor. The smell was so bad I remember almost vomiting on my first time entering the room. However, the one thing in the entire room that truly terrified me was the hospital bed that I was due to spend my initial days in. Each bed was partitioned with what looked like dark yellow shower curtains, separating the other patients and I from each other's view. And attached to my bed was a pair of handcuffs and straps. All patients on the top floor were put into these restraints, no exceptions. Apparently, we were considered to be dangerous due to our visions and hallucinations. I was verbally introduced to the other 2 patients, whom I would spend my days in care. While I never saw them, their voices added to the whispers I was constantly hearing throughout my day. My first week at Cherry Farm was uneventful. As normal, I felt her gaze, heard her voice, and the only primary difference was that now I had the screams of the other patients in the hospital running through my mind as an added sense of torture. After the staff noticed I hadn't been sleeping, they started to give me a dose of sedatives, where finally I was able to rest, but it's also where my nightmares started. Part 2, The Nightmare. My first nightmare was by far the most memorable. It was a flashback to the crash, only more detailed than it had ever been before. I was me, well, the 5-year-old me, But instead of dozing off like I remember, I was wide awake, looking out the front window of the car. My mother and father were talking amongst themselves in slight whispers. "We need to get him away from her," my mother whispered to my father. "I know," my father snapped at her quietly. "But we've tried everything, including priests, monks, and even fucking shamans. Nothing has worked. She is still after him." My mother started to cry. "Why is this happening to him?" she sobbed. Just as I was about to speak, I looked out the window and directly in front of the car I saw her, a pale woman with her sunken black eyes, her pale white skin, and her pitch black hair. Suddenly, I hear both my parents scream, those terrifying, ear-piercing screams. My father turned the wheel trying to avoid her. The car hit the embankment and it suddenly flipped. I was back upside down. I started crying, calling for my mother. Looking around, I saw her again. We were face to face once more, and I heard her whisper through her teeth, "The protection those souls gave you is finally wearing out. You'll be mine soon." She opened her mouth, her tongue stretched towards my face. I closed my eyes and screamed. The second I opened my eyes again, I saw her at the end of my bed. I screamed so loud, I felt it tearing at the back of my throat. The scream caused the others in the room to also start screaming. Suddenly, the curtain near my bed was pulled open and 3 nurses rushed in. 2 of them held me down, and the last one pushed a needle into my arm. I stared at her in complete panic, the drugs starting to settle in, and I slowly closed my eyes. This wasn't the only time I saw her. In fact, every time I was put to sleep, I would relive certain sections of my life, several flashbacks. She started showing up in every single one of my dreams after that. Always watching, always whispering, always smiling. Her toothy grin full of sharp teeth stretching across her face. One day, after an intense dream, I woke up in a hot sweat. As my eyes opened and adjusted to the light of the new day, I saw a woman sitting in my chair at the end of the bed. She was looking at me with beautiful, soft blue eyes and had a gentle smile. She radiated warmth I had never seen before, and with the softest voice she said, "I'm glad to see you're finally awake. My name is Susan, and I'm here to help." Part 3. Susan. Susan was extremely beautiful. She was about 21 years old, stood just shy of 5'9", and had long, chestnut brown hair. Her eyes were the most beautiful I'd ever seen. They were a baby blue color with a soft golden ring wrapping around her pupils. She had an adorable pixie nose, and on that day, her full lips were covered in a bright red lipstick that perfectly complemented her face. I was taken back. Concern took over her face. Softly, she said, "Did you hear me?" There was a slight pause, followed by, "I'm here to help." She softly smirked. I'm I'm sorry. What did you say? I said as I snapped back into reality. I'm Susan, and I'm here to help you, she replied as gently as the first time. Help me? I apologize if I sound rude with this question, but how do you intend to do that? I replied, puzzled at her words. Well, I intend to help you with your current problems. Would you like to tell me about her? She asked. I replied with a shock. Who? The woman I just heard you mumbling about in your sleep, she replied. I stared at her blankly, not completely sure how to respond. In the end, all I managed to get out of my mouth was, what? The woman with black hair? She replied. I looked at my hands, feeling embarrassed. Uh, you, you heard that, did you? I muttered. Her smile brightened. Yes, I did, and I would like to have a discussion about her with you. After she finished speaking, her words just hovered in the air. She started going through my mind. After a while, I was finally able to ask my first proper question. Are you a doctor here? She smiled once more and said, Yes. Part 4. Assistance. I spent the next couple of days talking to her about everything I was going through. I opened up to her a little bit more each day. It was truly refreshing to be able to actually speak to someone who listened to me. The best part is that with every single word I said, I could see no judgment in her eyes. She took everything in without so much as an eyebrow raised. By the end of it, I truly felt a weight lifted from my shoulders. At the end of the week, during one of our sessions, she looked at me and gave me her wonderful grin. I have something for you, she said cheerfully. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small box. Here you go, she said as she put the box in my hand. I looked up at her. What is this? Just open it, she replied. I opened up the box and inside I found two pairs of headphones and two small devices that kind of looked like small touchscreen for mobile phones. I looked up and as her eyes met with mine, she started speaking. I want you to wear these all day, every day. I have set them to sync with each other and downloaded a frequency that I believe will stop you hearing her whispering. I remember at this point my eyes just opened wide and my mouth dropped open. Uh, are you sure I'm allowed them here? In this ward? I managed to stutter out. About that, we are going to be moving you downstairs to your own room. She paused to let it sink in for a second and then continued. I believe you've made some real progress, and I do not deem you to be a danger to me or anyone else in this hospital. And I truly do think these items will help you find some kind of normal in your daily life. A tear rolled down my face and I managed to whimper out, Thank you. Part 5. White Noise. After our meeting, I was escorted to the second level where I was shown to my new room. This room was so much different from the one I just came from. Everything looked and smelled brand new. The walls still had the smell of fresh paint, The carpet looked like it was recently replaced, and the whole thing seemed more welcoming. And my favorite part was the bed. No shackles. I was finally getting my freedom back. I sat down on my bed, closed my eyes, and inhaled deeply through my nose, trying to soak in the fresh smells. As I was just about to lie down, I heard the door to my room unlock and slowly swing open. A soft voice followed the movement. "Coming in." It was Susan. I sprung up, my eyes gaped open. "Hello, Susan. I'm glad to see you." "Hello, Adam. Please relax. I just thought I ought to bring you these." She reached into her pocket and pulled out the headphones and music devices. "Here you go." I reached out my hand and grabbed the box. I pulled out one of the pairs of headphones with the attached device and then placed them on my ears. With a deep breath, I turned them on and pressed play. It was just as Susan said. The second I put on the headphones, I was unable to hear the whispering. Instead of whispering, all I heard was a slight static sound. The best way I could describe it is that it sounded exactly like the white noise videos you can find on YouTube to help you focus and pay attention. I started to cry as the silence hit me for the first time in what felt like years. I felt a hand rest on my shoulder. "You will be okay now. It will be harder for her to reach you," she said softly. I don't know why, but I rested my head on her shoulders and slowly fell asleep. For the first time since entering the hospital, I was able to sleep without a dream. Thank you all for taking the time to read this today. I need to finish this here and move on. I'll do my best to upload again if I get the chance. God bless you, all of you. Hey. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more videos. Have a good night.